The West Coast, and good afternoon for those of you joining us on the East Coast. Today we are going to be presenting the Transera Global Management and Control webinar. And my name is Rich Guth. I am the Senior Vice President of Analytics Marketing here at Transera. I have specialized the past 15 years of my career working with products, technology, and users of business intelligence, big data, and analytics products. And joining me today is Mike Greiner, our Senior Product Specialist. You'll be hearing from him at the end of the presentation, where he will demonstrate the Transera product. He has had almost 2 decades of experience working with multi-channel contact center solutions, and has one of the early pioneers working with SaaS solutions in the cloud, particularly for the contact center. So he'll be giving us a nice demo of the technology at the end of the webinar today. A bit of housekeeping before I go into the presentation. If you have a question, please submit it in the little question panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will monitor those as they come through. And if it's appropriate, we'll answer the question as it appears, or we'll save them up for the end where Mike and I will do an extensive Q&A session. So the agenda for the presentation today and the demonstration, we will first talk about some of the challenges today being faced by the contact centers, particularly those that are on a global basis with multiple sites and multiple contact centers and multiple outsourcers. Then I'll talk a little bit about the technology that's emerging in the industry that really addresses those challenges. And then I'll talk about how analytics-driven routing can actually improve the performance of these distributed contact centers. And then I'll pass it over to Mike, who will demonstrate the technology in use today by several very large multi-site, multi-outsourcer contact centers. The contact center space has seen a lot of change in the past decade or decade and a half, really. With the globalization of the workforce, we've had these cost-effective outsourcers come up, so a lot of the contact centers are actually staffed and manned by people who are not employees of the company representing the product. And there have been a lot of mergers and acquisitions, meaning that contact centers from different locations are now being merged and representing the same product line. And the challenges that come from that are threefold. One are operational, with a lack of visibility to overall performance. The second one is financial. It can be very hard to manage the performance across these various sites and optimize them for whatever your business outcomes might be. And it can be very easy to have an inconsistent customer experience result from these multi-site, multi-outsourcer contact centers. And as a result, as an industry, we see these consistent decline of customer satisfaction scores. Again, this year, yet again, went down almost 4 points. So the operational challenges come from the fact that, one, we've got many systems working in the contact centers today. We are interacting with our customers via email, via the web, on the phone. There's the ACD system that routes the calls, the CRM system that may be automating some email interactions and that is used to collect data about the customers, the IVR, the interactive voice response system that the customer navigates through the contact center in search of a self-service answer or in search of the right agent. And then, of course, now we have chat. And in fact, the Aberdeen Group did some research last year that found that 60% of contact centers use 7 or more channels now in their interactions with their customers online. And the second one is that there's a lack of performance visibility because everyone is distributed. We've got some in-house contact centers, potentially agents working here in-house. Most likely, most organizations have outsourced some of their call center activities for cost-effective purposes, for 24/7 support purposes, for support in different languages. So they might have remote agents where the company has put their contact center agents in different locations. Or now we also have agents working at home to be more productive and more integrated with their personal life, being able to man the contact center. And these have caused some real problems in terms of visibility and how do you manage all of this. This has also created financial problems because of the mergers and acquisitions and the fact that we're dealing with multiple outsourcers, and because so much of our contact center technology was originally on-premise and needed to be on-premise, we end up with these various contact center locations, each with their own equipment installed. So it can be very hard to maintain and manage and very expensive. And they can be very hard to replace, and it makes it very, very difficult to optimize for business outcomes because these may not be from the same vendor. They may not be compatible systems, particularly if their outsourcer has their own systems and your in-house contact center has their own systems. And therefore, to be able to get data from these various systems and really understand, which agents, which teams, which locations deliver the best customer satisfaction scores can be very, very difficult because the data is collected differently. Or which teams and agents perform best. Many outsourcers have their own reporting metrics that they provide to their customers and clients, and they're not apples-to-apples comparisons. So it can be very hard to compare different outsourcers. And because the customer data may be in multiple locations in different systems, it can be very hard to understand who your customer is and what the demographics are for your better customers and the ones with a higher propensity to buy, or the ones that stay customers longer and have a higher lifetime value. So there end up being these financial challenges as a result of this distribution of the contact center and its systems. And then finally, and arguably most importantly, it ends up with a very inconsistent user experience because across channels, agents, teams, sites, and outsourcers, these are different systems. They have different automated responses. They may be administered by different teams. They might be administered and managed at each site separately by individuals. It can be very expensive, for example, to do script management if it's distributed with a lot of on-premise equipment around the world. So you can't be sure that every customer is getting the same experience, getting the same offer, and is receiving the same level of service throughout the contact center operations worldwide. And one reason for this is because of inefficient routing strategies. Because these are different systems, most organizations have therefore set up different queues for the different systems or contact centers or outsourcers. And so if one particular outsourcer or contact center has a higher call volume, then their people are going to wait longer. And it could be very inconsistent and result in some very high abandon rates because the queues are very, very uneven on a worldwide basis. Now the good news is that there is technology that has been available for several years now that can really resolve this for the contact centers. One is just internet access from anywhere. You can arm an agent anywhere in the world with internet access to systems. So there is the ability to bring all of these agents and teams and outsources under one umbrella. There's now commodity hardware available at very low prices. So you don't have to have this expensive hardware, telephony, and software boxes at every location because you've got this commodity hardware you can put in a central location and run just about anything on. This concept of software as a service or the cloud, where the software runs out in the cloud in the internet and then is accessible anywhere from a web browser, is becoming very mainstream with companies like Salesforce being one of the leaders in the market space. But even traditional vendors like Oracle and SAP and IBM are embracing the cloud. The concept of voice over IP is accelerating. That adoption is very much accelerating so that you don't have to have telephony equipment at every single location or a PBX or switch at every location because you can use internet via the to have your phone conversations. SIP, the SIP register, has really simplified the deployments of voice over IP. And these big data technologies are coming out that are able to gather the data from multiple systems and bring them under one cloud to enable new analytics. In fact, as a result of all of these advances in technology, 75% of the enterprises today are in some stage of cloud adoption, standardization, and consolidation. So, and the reason for that is very much the reasons I just described in terms of addressing financial challenges, visibility challenges, and operational challenges. So what is possible now, and one of the things that Transcera does, is it moves all of the contact center capabilities of the contact center systems up into the cloud. You can move all of it up into the cloud or a subset, depending on what your needs. Some of the things that are available, you can have a global queue in the cloud that routes the calls throughout the world from one location. You can have ACD in the cloud, your CTI, recording, reporting, your analytics can all be up in the cloud. And this can be accessible from the various call centers and by the various agents with or without their local systems. So if they don't have local systems, they can leverage all of the capabilities in the cloud. But if they do have local systems, then the cloud capabilities can integrate with those on-premise systems. So not everyone will have to change the systems they use or their standards process. And Transcera does this today. Some of our customers you may know, like Guthrie Renker, if you know the proactive ads on television, Just Fab and Jones, New York, two boutique high-end clothing subscription services online. Rosetta Stone for the language capabilities. Two interesting examples are the United States Forestry Service and American Red Cross. Both of you use this in the case of disasters, because when they need additional contact center support, they're able to ramp up contact centers very briefly from anywhere in the world using the SaaS cloud technology. And we've been doing this for years and have some of the largest SaaS contact center deployments in the world, for example, with Office Depot. Let me give you a couple of examples. Guthrie Renker, they were very challenged in the way they measured the performance of their various vendors and agents. You know, they're a large company, well over $1 billion in revenue, direct response, direct marketing firm selling products over the phone. Their challenges were that they had 3,000 agents, over 15 outsourcers, and they were taking 1.5 million calls per month. They had very high abandon rates. Their conversion rates were not what they wanted, and it was very difficult to diagnose issues and react quickly. So if a campaign wasn't working or a product wasn't going well and they weren't getting the conversion rates, they didn't have the flexibility to understand what was going on and resolve it quickly. As a result of moving their technology, their contact center operations up into the cloud and putting everyone on a standard platform, including the outsourcers, they were able to get a 40 to 60% decrease in abandons, up to 10% increase in their conversion rates. They save $1 million in annual talk time savings because of driven by vendor comparison reports and able to understand the different value and performance of the different outsourcers. And they get real-time visibility into their operations today, so they're very easy. You know, if something is wrong and needs to be addressed, they can diagnose the issue and react very quickly. Office Depot, I'm sure you all know Office Depot. Their challenges were that they had 23 contact centers across 4 continents with 4,000 agents, and they were handling over 20 million calls annually. There was no visibility across the operations. The data was fragmented. The different contact centers and outsourcers were doing inconsistent reporting. They were getting higher than desired abandon rates. As a result of moving their contact center technology up into the cloud, they were able to centralize their queuing, routing, recording, monitoring, and reporting across all the contact centers. So everyone is being managed from a central global perspective. They're able to scale on demand to address business fluctuations, go up when they need to, go down in the holidays, ramp down a little bit during the slower seasons. As a result, they had a dramatic reduction in abandon rates. They save over $3 million annually, and they say they're now able to manage their entire organization and all their contact centers as if they were one. So what enables these benefits that I'm talking about? Well, it's this concept of global management and control of your contact center operations. And it has 4 basic capabilities: global QE routing, distribution, and scripting, analytics-driven customer interactions, which I'll describe what that means in a minute, global visibility to understand everything that's going on, and then existing system interoperability, the fact that you don't have to replace all the existing systems to get the benefits that we're talking about here. And I'm going to drive this home. Everything I'm talking about today will integrate with your existing systems, whether they be cloud-based or on-premise. You do not have to pull out existing telephone systems, PBXs. You do not have to replace your CRMs. Even if you have an on-premise ACD, you don't have to replace those. We can integrate and manage and control them centrally from the cloud. So you still get a global management view and management global control, even though you've got on-premise systems in place. You won't need to buy any new on-site telephony equipment or hardware. It supports open standards, which enables all of the integration, uses off-the-shelf software components, and provides on-demand computer telephony integration. So we can do whatever you want at various locations with telephony and screen pop. And do screen pops to various agents regardless of where they are. And one of the values of this is this global queuing, where if someone calls in or they go through the IVR, they chat, they email, everything goes through a central queue for each one of the different channels, and everyone waits in the same line, and then as agents throughout the world become available, then the individual is routed to the appropriate agent who can handle that call. So everyone has the same experience, waits in the same line, and you don't have that uneven issue that can cause really high abandons. Also allows you to scale up when you need to very quickly. So the cloud, and it does a global routing. So the calls come in, or the chat, or the emails. It comes in centrally, and then there is this dashboard within our system that you're able then to manage and direct the calls to the various locations. And it knows who is available, what the occupancy is at the various sites, and will route it to the most appropriately skilled individual. And we'll see a demo of this capability and setting these different call centers up later in the webinar today. In addition to being able to just route the calls and interactions, when you have a central queue, then you're able to manage the script and automatic responses in a central way. So you can write the response once and publish it everywhere. And as the customer interaction gets flowed to the appropriate agent, the appropriate script goes along with it, or the appropriate offer, which provides a very consistent customer experience on a worldwide basis, because you're being able to, again, put everyone in the same queue and treat everyone the same way. Now, how do we determine where to route the individual call or chat or email? Well, we do that through analytics-driven routing. I'm going to walk you through that a bit. What we have in Transera is a customer engagement repository, where with a business rules engine, a predictive analytics engine, and inside the repository are customer interaction records and agent activity records. And we create that repository by pulling historical data from your various contact center systems. And we map them together and create these global views of all of your contact center operations. So we understand how customers interact and what they do and what they want and need based upon who they are or what options they're choosing in the IVR system, for example. And we know performance of the different agents. Who is the better agent to respond to a particular type of inquiry? Because we understand their historical performance over months and months and months worth of data, if not years. So when a voice or a chat or an email or social interaction comes on board to the Transera system in the cloud, what happens is our system goes out and pulls the real-time data necessary from the IVR, the CRM system, to understand the individual, what they're asking, what they say they need. and whether or not they've interacted before or done previous things on this particular to resolve this particular issue. And then based upon that, we go into the customer engagement repository and access recommendations. How should we handle this particular individual and this customer interaction? What is the best way, the best offer, the best script to for this individual, and who is the best agent based upon their historical performance? So we're not talking about the next available agent or the longest available agent. We're talking about who is the best agent and then what is the best offer that we want to make this to this particular customer. And based upon this, we then generate scripts and automated responses and data screen pops for the agents. And we route them into your existing third-party systems that may be on-premise or in the cloud, which then in turn route them out to the individual sites or agents. Or if you have contact centers that are bringing up new ones that don't have on-premise equipment already, we can, through this Transera Global Management capability, route the calls, the scripts, the responses, and the screen pops directly to the individual agents on site or at home. And all of this, because it's all one system and we have a complete global view of everything that's happening throughout the operations, we have this global dashboard that we're able to get this visibility across all of this. Various systems worldwide. As a result of this, we can do a variety of different types of routing and distribution. We don't just do personality matches, or we just don't do based upon, test the agents and give them a skill. We do a lot more than that. We can do performance routing, where we can match customers with the agents with the best track record for delivering the right business outcome for that kind of interaction, whether it is a customer satisfaction is the goal, or sales, or retention, or customer service. Or we can do demographic routing, where we match customers with agents with whom they might have the most affinity based upon location, nationality, region, or just what the issue is. We do customer status routing, so that we prioritize and route the calls or the interaction itself based upon the stage of the customer journey. For example, folks who are delinquent might go to collections. People with a high customer value might go to a very high value, high skilled agent who can manage that high value customer in the best possible and most effective way. We can also do value-based routing, which is kind of what I was just talking about in terms of lifetime value of the customer, selling to the highest skilled agents. Or we can do service level routing. If your just goal to the business is to minimize abandons or reduce, meet a certain kind of wait time or first call resolution or whatever those other service level commitments are, using this analytics-driven routing capabilities I described, we're able to use your past performance to optimize against all of those. And then, as I mentioned earlier, because it's one central system in the cloud that's overlooking all of your operations, we're able to give you real-time visibility. We're able to help you understand your agent and customers using the data from all the various systems. We give you dashboards that has the systems and metrics integrated from the various systems. That way you can get these operational and business metrics that you probably can't get today if you have distributed call centers with different outsourcers. And you can do very complex metrics if you want, where you could calculate unique metrics using data from multiple systems. And then we have a lot of visualizations for them. So in summary, this global routing, this global management, this global control of your contact center operations can help you reduce your call abandons, maximize your business outcomes, again, whatever those are, whether it's sales, customer satisfaction, first call resolution, improve your visibility of performance globally, give you a consistent customer experience globally, so you know everyone is being treated the way you want them to and best practices are being applied. And it really reduces your risk and costs because we're requiring no capital outlay and no additional hardware or PBX or telephony equipment being bought. We'll work with what you have, and it's a subscription model so that you only pay what you use. And with that, I would like to pass it to Mike Greiner, who will be the demo person and show us what I'm talking about.
Good afternoon. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to take control of the demo here in just a second, take control of the screen and start the demo. And can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can, Mike.
Okay, great. All right, so what we're looking at right now is actually the Transcera ACD system. It's the landing page for supervisors and managers as they log onto the system. This is just a high-level snapshot of what's happening on the system. Over here on the right, we have a call interval report that shows when calls have come in and how many calls. Again, this is just a demo system, so it's actually pretty light on the data that we have available. But as you can see, we have had calls come in over these various times, and you'll be able to look at your call interval. And then below, we actually have a report relative, a historical report relative to our queues showing the queue activity. Over on the left-hand side, this is actually for real-time data. And again, in the upper left-hand corner here, we don't actually have any data because we don't actually have any calls coming in because it's a demo system. But normally you would see how many calls you had in queue and how many calls were connected. You also see in the lower left-hand corner, this is actually a pie chart of all of your available agents and what states they're currently in. So it gives you, again, just a high-level view of what's happening on the system, just to acclimate yourself when you first log into the system. But the system is actually very rich with reporting. We're going to take a look at historical reporting. And with historical reporting, we have several different areas which are indicated in the tabs up at the top. We can look at call reports. We can look at agent reports. We can look at agent trace reports, auxiliary reports, which actually show reports that are specifically around the capabilities of understanding agent states and call dispositions. We have skill reports and threshold reports. And there's not a lot of canned reports on the system. The system is designed to be able to generate these reports in an ad hoc fashion very quickly. So while we do have a few canned reports, most of the reports that are on the system are actually generated by our customers and are saved by our customers because they're reports that they want to use on a regular basis. You can see in the format of the screen that we have in the upper portion, we have a graph which you'll be able to define what you want in your graph. And in the lower section, we have tabular data, which we have the capability to not only display that tabular data, in this case it's queue information, but actually drill down within those queues to get further and further, all the way to the point that we're down to call detail records. So you actually, and within the call detail records, you see all the various fields up at the top. You have a lot of information available to you within these reports. So you have extensive reporting. It's not a generator report. It's actually quite easy. I can say that as I'm generating a report, I'd like to see a report. I can actually choose from one of the canned or saved reports, or I could say I'd like to generate a report. This is a call report, and I'd like to do that either by entry point, which in the Transcera system is the first place the call lands and where it gets its IVR treatment, or you can do a call report by queue, by site, or by team. And if you choose, for example, to do it by queue, you can say I'd like to work with all queues, or I can go in and select a queue, or I could select multiple queues that I would like to look at. And again, this is going to be different for different managers, different supervisors, depending on their scope of influence, the people that report to them. Here we have the capability to go in and see what we would like graphed in the graph, and we can work with any of these parameters, with any of these metrics. And so again, we'll probably just leave it here at service level percentage. We also have the capability to modify what's in the lower portion, the table parameters, and there I can say, I would like to work with, again, service level, or, for example, we could do percentage abandoned. Then after we've determined what we would like to see, we have the capability to then very quickly go in and say when you'd like to see that, or either a specific time range or a relative time range such as yesterday, today, this week, or last month, up to 13 months. And then once you've selected all your items, you go in and simply click Update Report, and it's going to deliver all of that information to you. But again, I have the capability to do this by site. I can do it by team, so certain teams may span across various sites. I'm not limited to a particular site. I'm not limited to a particular team. I can span this across whatever geography or whatever logical breakdowns that you have within your organization. Some of the other things that we have the capability to do is we have the capability to do call monitoring. And to do call monitoring, again, I just go in and select what queue or what site or what team or even what individual agents I'd like to monitor. And then I put in my phone number so that as the call is being delivered to the agent, it can also be delivered to me as the person monitoring those calls. And I can select. I can say I'd like to monitor the next call. I just want to hear the next call. Maybe I just want to hear, go in and do selective monitoring agent by agent. Or I could go in and do continuous monitor where I say, you know what, I really want to work with my new agents. I just hired 10 new agents, and I've selected those as my selection criteria. I want to continuously monitor. So as calls come in, as I'm available off of the last call, as the next call comes in for someone that I'm looking to monitor, I want to receive that next call. In addition, if you have an agent that's indicated that they're having difficulty with a particular call, you can go in and do a mid-call monitor and actually listen to that call, go in and select that agent specifically and go in and monitor that call in the middle of the call. And again, you have the capability to both to listen to this call silently, or you can actually you can whisper coach to that agent, or you can even, if necessary, barge in. And again, you can do this across all of your environment. You have visibility to everyone within your environment, regardless where they are physically located in the world. Some of the other things that we have capabilities for is call recording. And again, because all calls come through the Transcera platform, we have the capability to record all of those calls. You would do this by setting up a recording schedule. When you set up a recording schedule, this is one that's already built, but it's the same process. You go in and give that schedule a name. You say when you want it to start, when you want it to end in terms of dates, what time you'd like that to start and end on those dates, and then what days of the week, if it's specific days or if you want it to run daily, you have that capability. But again, you also have the capability to go in and we absolutely do 100% recording, but if you want to have multiple recording schedules, that you want to record particular teams or particular agents or particular sites, again, you have complete visibility over the entire environment, regardless where in the world these agents physically sit. And you have the capability to go in and record 100% if that's what you'd like to do, or you can record as specifically and as in a sophisticated manner as you'd like to really get the specific recordings that you want. In addition to the recording, we also have a great capability to go in and use the jukebox to retrieve these calls. And again, you can retrieve these calls by queue, by site, by team, by agent. You can use wrap-up codes, disposition codes. You can go in and you can select specific date ranges. You can go in and say you'd like to select recordings of specific lengths. You can find recordings if you know the ANI, the DNIS, or the unique session ID, which you might get from a report. Every call has its own unique session ID. You can do it based on the variables that are presented with the call. So there's just a lot of ways to very quickly go out and find the specific calls that you're looking for, which is very powerful. Being able to record the calls is important, but it's much more important to be able to go out and find those calls very quickly and find the types of calls that you want in a very quick fashion to be able to make sense of those. The other thing that I'd like to show you today is and this is something that we've added to the product in the last 18 months, and this is called our Command Center Dashboard. And this has been very popular with our customers because it gives you the capability to really understand exactly what's happening in your contact center environment in the way that you want to see it. So when you first go into the Command Center Dashboard, this is the view that you would see. It shows on the left-hand side, it shows your call data, and on the right-hand side, it shows your agent data. So you can actually compare sort of the supply and demand of calls and the agents that are going to handle those calls. At the bottom, you're presented with some graphs that show you the call status of where your calls are currently at. It shows you your average queue time, and this is by your specific queues. It shows you what your overall agent occupancy level is, and then it shows you your handle time by specific agent teams, which again is a great high-level piece of information, but we have the capability to minimize this and actually drill in much further to the additional data, to the fields that we have here, and have the capability to go in and I'm actually going to minimize or limit the calls coming in and actually focus on the agent data. And here you see I have 3 KPIs, how many agents are active, idle, and available. I can actually go in and expand this. We have quite a number. I'm going to say check all. And now I can actually see all of the information, all of the KPIs and metrics available about these agents. And again, I've created these groupings. This is my grouping. This is my enterprise site. So I've created these groupings to be what I want to see as a manager, as a supervisor. And we'll show you how to do that in just a second. But everything on the left-hand side here is real-time data from today. It's real-time data right now. And everything on the left-hand side of the screen is actually data up to this point in the day. It's from the beginning of the day. Now you'll notice some of the fields here are highlighted. Some are highlighted in dark blue with gold writing, and some are highlighted in bright red. And that's to indicate that these items have passed the threshold that we've set. So you have the capability to go in and set thresholds to quickly identify areas that are potential problem areas for you. And the way we do this and the way we manage all of these groups is we just go up to the Manage tab here. And again, if I wanted to go in and create a new view, a new grouping, I can just go in and click New View and create that. We're just going to take a look at one that's here. We're going to take a look at Enterprise Support. And within Enterprise Support, it has all of the teams that I've created or built for Enterprise Support that I want to be part of this grouping. Now, in addition, it's telling me here I have the capability to set this up to do to blink specific settings. I can go in and now work with specific teams here, and it shows me the queue list that makes up this particular team, and it shows me all of my various thresholds, all of my metrics, and I can go in and just by clicking Edit here, I can go in and change this. I can add additional queues. I can go in and change my warning levels. This is a first warning level. So this is when my current calls in queue hit 20, I want a warning level, and when they hit 40, I want it to start flashing or turn red to indicate that that's critical. So again, this is something that really any manager, any supervisor can use. And this is something that really, again, our customers are using this in multiple different ways. They have this in management. Management has certain reports that they have on their desk and they have open. Supervisors and frontline managers can create their own reports to manage their teams the way they want it. And you can also put these out on TV screens in your physical call center to be able to display appropriate information to your agents so that they can see the specific things that they're being measured on and that you want them to see. So again, I just wanted to give you a good high-level overview of our system to show you the capabilities that we have in terms of being able to look at and view the entirety of the system, be able to look across physical sites, across teams, across geographies, and be able to manage that from a single portal, from a single location. And with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Rich and see if we have any questions. So I'm going to go ahead and change presenter to Rich, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mike. That was great. Really appreciate it. We do have quite a few questions, but before we move to those, I am going to stop the recording for those of you listening to our on-demand version of this webinar, and then we will be answering any of the various questions live. If you're on the on-demand version, feel free to email us at analytics@transcerainc.com, and we will be happy to answer any questions you have.